Politics is like an extreme sport, so it's not easy. It's not the first time that it's tough for me, but I can assume that what is important for me every morning, I get up and I say, hey, what can I do to help Quebecers getting better services?
That is Francois Legault. I didn't know he did that first thing in the morning. I'd not heard that before. James Mennie at the Montreal Gazette on this story and a couple of others. So let's begin with this. Not a good day, I would guess, for the Premier when you find out one of your senior ministers has decided to walk away. And it's because, let's call a spade here, it's because of this bill just introduced, Bill 2, that's going to punish doctors. So give me your take on that, Jim.
Well, it's kind of funny if you look at the context of things. And if you go back and you walk it back a bit and you look at the details of what's been going on here, we're just listening to an accountant / businessman say he's worried about, his concern is that Quebecers get good health care. Leonard Carmant, he was a cabinet minister. Prior to being a cabinet minister, he was the head of neurology at Saint Justin. He was a pediatric neurologist, still is, a medical specialist. And the thing is, his daughter writes this who is also a medical specialist, she writes this letter in the Devoir saying, listen, with this law that's been brought down, I'm going to have to work under the province. And at this point, you have to ask yourself, well, that's sad, but, these whiny doctors, let me tell you, Dr. Laura Carmant, the daughter of Leonard Carmant, is a fetal therapist. What that means is she heals sick kids while they're still in the womb, Aaron. So you tell me what the bigger loss would be if Dr. Carmant leaves or if Premier Legault leaves politics tomorrow. Yeah. This is what we're talking about. The context here is that as much as we look at this as a political story, I wonder how many of our listeners and Gazette readers decided to pick up the phone after they saw Aaron Durfell's story today saying that 5 of the 25 doctors at the Queenie Clinic are leaving or want to leave. Yeah. This is what's coming out. But above and beyond all of that, the question that goes beyond this, and I have to tell you, I don't think I'm given that much to hyperbole when I'm talking about this show. But in the 14 years this show has been around, we've never seen a political situation like this. We've never seen a political situation where a cabinet minister has to resign simply because his daughter, who is a huge asset to Quebec, cannot stay because the government that he's a part of turns around and says, you know what, we're going to show these doctors once and for all. We're going to show them what's going on. And the funny thing is, the big question now is that Leonard Carmant has made his reasons clear as a matter of family. He was placed in an untenable position. That said, of the 80 or so people left in the CAQ caucus, do you mean to tell me none of them are in the same boat? Do you mean to tell me that none of them have constituents who are being negatively affected, severely negatively affected by this law? And if that's the case, are we really looking at, I think it's like at this point now, it's like 81 or 82 potted plants or performing seals? Is that what we have? Because there seems to be a rumor going around that now that Carmant has sort of, how can I put it, opened the door, there may be other MNAs who are saying, maybe it's time I did the right thing as well. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's time perhaps I just sat as an independent. And believe me, even if half of them did, even if half a caucus of the CAQ caucus were to turn around tomorrow and say, we're going to sit as independents, this is unacceptable, we can't be associated with this, it would change the entire game, the entire balance of power in the National Assembly. But right now, and we heard that clip from the doctor during the news, that this is an egregious assault on fundamental rights. It is. And this is what this government has always been about. And we're seeing it more and more with each passing day. And the fact that a senior, valued, and talented cabinet minister has to leave because the accountant and the businessman, i.e. the premier and the health minister, have decided this is the time to start saving money and pretend we're going to get these doctors under heel. Remember who you are. You're a politician. These people literally have the power of life and death. These people have been trained to save lives. And you're saying, yeah, you know what, you don't like it? Like they say to Anglos or immigrants, you don't like it here, go someplace else. Right. And they're turning around saying, yes, I think I will. And that's where we are. And this is damn dangerous for everybody.
Jim, it's funny. I think back as we talk about other ministers, not having that sort of, battle of conscience. We used to call these people conscientious objectors. Remember back in the day?
Yeah, sure.
You have a rationale for why you get involved in stuff like this. And when it doesn't necessarily tie into what you believe, you get up and you walk. But you're right. No one else has done that.
It's a matter of principle. It's a matter of conscience, and even more simply put, it's just doing the right thing. And they know. If you don't know that doing the right thing is putting as much distance between yourself and Bill 2 as possible, be it as a politician, as a civil servant, as a citizen of Quebec, as someone who wants to be involved in the future of this province, then I think you've got some real problems in terms of figuring out where you are. But this is dangerous stuff. And to hear Francois Legault turn around and talk about this, like, it's the same when he's going to go after the unions now or whatever new adversary Francois Legault has designated, you really have to ask yourself, how long is it going to take for the CAQ caucus to finally figure out perhaps it's not a good idea to be an accomplice to any of this, to be involved and associated with a government that will only be remembered. Its only achievement in its 8 years in office is having normalized illegal discrimination in Quebec, be it against religious observance, be it against professions, be it against unions. This is all this government has ever been about. And the question is, how, and I keep asking it, and I hate to do it, but it's the main question. Can we survive another year of the damage that this government is doing to Quebec?
All right, let me move on and talk about what's happening. We're only a few days away from a municipal election, and we have a new poll out, a Palace Data poll that's out today that basically shows Soraya Martinez-Ferrada on Saint-Montréal has widened her lead. What's interesting in this poll, though, Jim, is sort of the linguistic breakdown, I think, a bit, right?
Oh, man. Like there always has been, to a certain extent, a linguistic breakdown in municipal elections. I remember, back in the day when it was Louis Zarel versus Gérard Tremblay, the eastern francophone part of the city usually went Vision Montreal. The west went Union Montreal or whatever the name of Tremblay's party was. But the thing was, it depended whether it was about murders or about policy or whatever. So you've had that split. But my God, I don't ever remember seeing so big a split linguistically between the two front runners. As you say, francophone voters between Raborin and Martinez-Ferrada, basically they're split. It's like 24-27, and there's a margin of error, so they're in a dead heat. But with non-francophones, and let's face it, that's a big chunk of the population in Montreal, it's 46% for Ensemble Montreal versus 13% for excuse me, no, that's how they're getting crushed with older voters. It's 46% for Martinez-Ferrada. It's 6% Rebel. In fact, Proche Montréal is running in third place with non-francophones behind Action Montréal, which gives you some indication of where they might be. Now, people are saying, well, yeah, listen to CJAD, so I know Anglos aren't that big on Proche Montréal. But all that said, that is a huge split, and it's going to be a bit. I'm wondering how much this will come back to haunt whoever wins this election, Aaron, on Sunday. And but all that said, remember this poll as well, like every other poll. This poll has an undecided factor of 29%.
Yeah.
Which, when you look at the numbers overall, it's I'm not trying to shill for the election. But I got to tell you, if you want to think your vote's not going to count, no, your vote's going to count. And honestly, I would not take odds on who's going to win. There are too many unknowns here because of that big, amorphous, shifting, oscillating mass of undecided voters who, if anything else, just might stay home, Aaron. And it's not that they're going to throw their support behind somebody. They're going to throw their support behind a bag of chips and watch TV. Yeah. And who knows how that's going to play out by the time November 2nd is over.
Yeah, you're right. And again, it's like every other election, right? It's who comes out, who, as you just said, decides to get out there and, vote. And even though the lead is pretty big now, I mean, if you were going to bet, you'd say, well, that's a lot to overcome in the next 3 days. Basically, 33%, I guess, to 18%. But then again, we know, and people have said this, I think you've mentioned this as well, Jim, Proje's got a good ground game. So
Absolutely.
You don't take this stuff for granted. It's going to be perhaps a lot closer than the polls suggest.
Absolutely, and when you see which way the numbers have been going with that undecided, which I'm saying is not unique to Montreal, we've had that conversation. This is happening across the country. You can't call it, and who knows? All it's going to take is somebody to say the right thing or the wrong thing, even now between now and Sunday, and that could tip the scales as well. So it's going to be a very, very interesting election.
I would just ask one thing. I'll get off this, but this idea is Gilbert Thibodeau now in third place ahead of Craig Silver. What do you make of that, by the way?
Oh, you know what? Because I'm listening to him. People like the way he talks.
Yeah.
This guy says out loud what they're thinking, and the fact is, and he can't figure. Listen, I've been doing this for 40 years. It's like, we're done. Where are they spending the $7 billion? Because it beats the crap out of me, Aaron.
Yeah.
And for him to turn around and say that out loud, as opposed to, we have all these different plans on these 3-year, capitalization. It's like, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. I talked to 3 guys over the course of my career. I talked to 3 guys. I won't. 2 of them are no longer with us, but 3 guys who were involved in city finances. They were politicians, and they admitted privately they didn't have a clue about how city finances work, because it's all the bureaucracy. And at the end of the day, they just give them a report and say, this is this is the state of things. So, you know what? I don't get it. All I know is I'm old enough to remember when it was a big deal that the STM budget broke $1 billion, and look where we are now.
There is that. Jim, I'm going to let you go. My question today to the audience, which we're going to come back to in a second, is based on this whole Doug Ford, Francois Legault fight. Just give me your quick take on this. Did Doug Ford do anything wrong, in your opinion, by saying what he said about doctors?
Absolutely not. Okay. I think he's looking after his constituents, and he's doing a far better job looking after the interests of Ontarians than Francois Legault is for Quebec.
We will leave it at that. James Mennie, Jim, thank you.
Trav.
Close your eyes, and you can hear the entire world come alive. 2026 FIFA World Cup is on, and you can stream it all live on TSN Radio. From the opening kickoff to the final celebration, every match, every moment. Listen to FIFA World Cup on TSN Radio.
Here's Canada, the liftoff.
Available on iHeartRadio.